What's going on, everybody? This is Steve from Bloom Audio. Today we're going to talk about the Burson Conductor GT4. GT4 is the latest in Burson's line of Conductor DAC amp combos with a focus on delivering a lot of power without a lot of noise. And GT4 aims to take this to the next level, especially in terms of noise reduction. So we're going to talk about some of the details on what GT4 is and how it accomplishes that incredibly low noise. Ask who is this for and should you buy it? When you're looking at Burson's Conductor series, whether you're down at the performance line, which runs around $1,000, up to the GT4, which is over $3,000, the power is always really the biggest piece of the discussion. While they've done a great job in improving their DACs, which with each successive version, the power is the main draw. If you were just looking at, from a pure DAC perspective, there's definitely some better options in this price range, but when you combine the all-in-one features of the DAC, the amp, the ability to run as a standalone amp or a standalone DAC, connectivity, and of course the power, that's where GT4 really shines. So you get 10 watts of pure Class A power with an output stage that's based on Burson's standalone amp, the Soloist. Along with that is a dual ESS DAC setup that's using the same DACs as their previous. It's the ESS 9038, I think, but they've reconfigured them to run in parallel rather than using both of them to process both the left and right signals and then splitting it. They're running one DAC for the left and one DAC for the right, and they've achieved better levels of channel separation, lower crosstalk, and definitely a perception of a greater delivery of details with the new DAC setup. In terms of headphone power, both the GT3 and GT4 are going to give you 10 watts at 16 ohms for headphone output power. So in order to deliver that additional Class A power, the Conductor 3 GT added a pretty big fan. Also the Soloist, the standalone amplifier in that line, also had the big fan on top of the case. GT4 eliminates the big fan and adds two smaller fans on the side that you won't even know are there. The old fan was quiet. This one is non-existent. Late in the previous generation, Burson also added these silent power modules, which is a tech they're using for voltage regulators, basically to try to bring the noise associated with voltage regulators that they typically add into your signal. The goal with the design on their silent power modules is basically to bring that down to zero. So if you're looking from a technical perspective at the 3GT versus the GT4, a lot of those specs on paper, the power output, a lot of the parts are going to look the same. What is different is the steps they've taken to reduce the noise, improve the measurements. Again, the changes to the DAC to reduce the crosstalk between the channels, as well as the addition of the silent power modules and the changing of the fan configuration. GT4 is absolutely dead quiet, pitch black noise floor. Another upgrade here that may or may not be particularly important is they've upgraded the Bluetooth chip over previous generations. Now you can get aptX HD and LDAC with the Conductor GT4. So now that we've got a pretty good idea of performance, the power, what differentiates it from the rest of Burson's line, we've got to ask, who's this for? There's definitely been a bit of an arms race in headphone amplifiers to deliver the most power possible for flagship headphones like the Hi-Fi Man Susvara, community favorites like the Modhouse Tungsten. GT4 with 10 watts at 16 ohms is definitely capable of running all of the hardest to drive headphones, usually with a little headroom to spare, assuming that you're not just completely deaf at this point, and doing it again with this pitch black silent noise floor. Now, in terms of the quality of the DAC, is GT4 going to hold up to a Cord TT2, Dave, or DCS Lena, or any other number of super high-end DACs that are 2, 3, 4 times the price? No, the DAC quality is not up there with the best of the best. There are definitely options that are going to give you a similar level of power with an added level of refinement to the sound, or, like in the case of a Mascobo or something like a Hi-Fi Man, EF1000, it's talking about 20-25 watts speaker amp level power that does do something a little bit different with these headphones than even the 10 watts that the Burson is able to give you does. But that brings you to the question of how much better are those other options? Looking at the Burson as an all-in-one solution at about $3,400, that's very attractive when your better options are at minimum twice the price. In many cases, in order to get that same level of power along with a better DAC, 3 to 4 times the price to really achieve that. What GT4 does bring here is a level of convenience that is hard to beat when you combine it with the performance. Yeah, you could get Felix Envy or the new Cayenne Soul, pair them up with a great DAC. At this point, you've spent about $15,000, and you're going to need about this much space on your desk to make it all work. GT4 can't quite deliver that, but it's going to deliver incredible sound that will let you really experience what these top-end headphones have to offer in a much more compact package. And the versatility is also of note here. With the improvements they've made to the noise level, really bringing down that noise floor, the GT4 is actually a pretty good option with some higher impedance IEMs. I think a lot of people are going to actually enjoy that experience of listening to IEMs with that huge power. It is a little bit different than even what a high-end DAP is going to offer you in terms of the sound. So basically, if you're looking to invest in a high-end headphone system that's going to enable you to get incredible performance out of a really wide range of headphones, but you don't want this to, take over your life or cost as much as a really nice pre-owned car, then GT4 is an excellent option for creating that sort of setup. With that in mind, should you buy GT4? Looking at what's out there isn't really a lot that occupies that same space as Burson in terms of the price, the performance, and that sort of convenient all-in-one function of the Conductor series. So I thought I would take a look at the past couple generations, the Conductor 3 Reference and the Conductor 3 GT, and see how they stack up with the GT4. So there's absolutely a core sort of Burson sound. It's big, it's meaty, and it's a little bit aggressive in the highs. Burson's all about op-amp swapping, being able to, open up the hood and customize your tone by swapping out those discrete op-amps that they use. The deluxe version of the GT4 that I had for my testing had V7 Vivid op-amps, their latest, and I tested against the Conductor 3 Reference with the V6 Vivids, as well as the 3 GT also had the V6 Vivids in there. Of the three, GT4 had absolutely the best sense of space, separation, detail, clarity. The improvements they've made to lower the noise floor are you can hear the difference in, I guess, what you're not hearing with that low level of background noise in the separation and in the delivery of that spaciousness to the sound. But it does come at a little bit of a cost if you're treble sensitive, and that is that aggressive top end. I felt GT4 also had the most forward, bright treble of the three. And so when I paired it with brighter sounding headphones like the Hi-Fi Man Aria Organic, tended to end up being pretty bright. On the flip side, when I paired it with warmer headphones like the Final D7000 or the Meze Empyrean, they sort of complemented each other perfectly. I find the D7000 to maybe be a little bit too warm at times. With a warmer source, it can sound a little mushy. With the GT4, it sounded incredible, where you got the punch, the slam, and the Burson added enough there in the high end to brighten things up a little bit. The Conductor 3 Reference I found to be the warmest sounding of the three. I never found this to be particularly warm sounding amp or DAC amp, but in comparison with the GT4, there was a noticeable difference there. So those same Hi-Fi Mans that kind of brought out too much brightness with the GT4 thought were better suited on the 3 reference, it brought the sound a little bit closer to where the GT4 was at in terms of the spaciousness and separation. The Conductor 3 GT was, unsurprisingly, kind of in the middle of that, where you feel some of those improvements they made in between to reduce the noise of the amp. You get a little bit more of the spaciousness, a little bit more of the separation. But with those V6 op amps, I feel like they're not quite as bright as the V7 Vivids are. And so you got some of the space, some of the separation, not quite as much, and you didn't get as much of that air and top end as well. So tonally, that kind of hit in between. In terms of the performance, the 3 reference, that lags behind a little bit on specs, and that was notable when using headphones like the Susvara or the Susvara Unveiled. The 3 reference had enough, but I wanted more, especially after having heard it on the GT4. I knew that there was more to get out of this series, and GT4 is what gave it, and it does that little bit of extra power, really enhances the bass, and that cleaner background enhances all the features of Susvara and of Susvara Unveiled, just to really give you that next level experience over the previous models. So what's the bottom line? As we talked about, I see the really key standout feature of the GT4 as being that balance of price, performance, and versatility. What you're getting for $3,400 does come surprisingly close to what you're gonna get as a final experience at 2-3 times the price, with an extra layer of complication and space needs added to that. So if you're looking for that, you want to get the top end experience without spending, the absolute top end. You could go $30,000 on a headphone setup easy. GT4 is going to enable you to experience that high-end sound in that price bracket. Along with that, in terms of the technical end of things, GT4 definitely shows improvement over each previous iteration that Burson has released. And I mean, honestly, pretty much everything I set it up with, every headphone I tried it with, GT4 just kicks butt. Thanks for watching. You can check out Conductor GT4 and a lot of other great products at bloomaudio.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll be back soon with more high-fidelity audio content.